Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Weekly Talk. My name is Cale. I'll be the host for today's episode. We have a very special one for you today. We're excited to get into, but it is even more special because we have a special guest joining us. We know her as Cam, but from social media, you might know her as Swamp Witch, and she has graced us with her presence today and going to be offering up her opinions on some stuff and putting some
stuff.
Come on, bro. Some stuff. I can't give away the show. Come on. Expertise. Cam, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on. It's an honor. I'm very excited to be here.
It's an honor for us to have you. In addition to Cam, you have the regular two that are in the rotation, my forced companions, my two co-hosts, Xavier and Corey. How are you guys doing today?
That's us. Yeah, we're doing pretty good, you know? It's another beautiful day in Los Angeles. Xavier, how you doing?
I'm doing good as well. It's nice. It's not raining. It stopped raining for a little bit, which is nice. But I'm doing good. Back's hurting a little bit, as usual. But Cale, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, dude. I'm doing great. It's our first episode. It's our first guest episode we've had in a while, and I'm really excited to get into this one.
Me too.
If you're new to the show, each week we take a new topic and we discuss it with a short story or a would you rather. Today, we do not have a short story, but we do have a very particular would you rather for you. And if you guys are ready, I'd like to get into it.
Yeah, I'm down. Let's do this.
Let's do it. All right. Would you rather be responsible for cleansing or removing the energy that lingers after death, or work trying to bridge the worlds beyond the veil as a paranormal investigator looking for concrete proof of spirits and the afterlife?
Ooh, okay. Spooky.
It's kind of an intense one.
Dealing with the dead like right off the bat. Okay.
Right off the bat. That usually takes us a while. We'll get there eventually. But first initial thoughts, we'll go with Xavier.
Oh boy. Let's see. I would want to work trying to bridge the worlds beyond the veil as a paranormal investigator, looking for concrete proof of spirits in the afterlife. I've always had an interest in that, and I like paranormal stuff. Watching paranormal things on TV so I don't think I've ever had really a paranormal. I may have had a paranormal experience. Before, but it was just a weird occurrence. So maybe it was something weird, but I've always had an interest in that. So I think I'd want to try to work to bridge the worlds between the afterlife and stuff like that. Be a paranormal investigator. I think that'd be kind of fun.
It's just a cool job title.
A paranormal investigator. Yeah, that'd be cool.
Do you think you could go around like exploring like haunted houses or
I would love to do that. I've never been to a haunted location. I'd love to do something like that. Explore like a haunted house or location, or even like urban exploring, like exploring abandoned buildings, things like that.
Right. Yeah, right.
That'd be kind of cool. But Corey, what about you?
I think I'd want to be responsible for cleansing or removing the energy after death. I really would want to be like, I'm wearing a poncho right now, so I would want to help shepherd them, towards a better existence.
Very nice.
So I think like being able to have the knowledge of like making something maybe not sacred again, but some place that feels like, I don't know, less cold. I don't know. I've only been in one location that was haunted, and the energy there was definitely different than like my house or my car or whatever.
Right.
And trying to get the vibes and the feeling back to a brighter feeling. That's what I would want.
I like that. I like that.
Thanks,
answer.
man. Yeah. I think it feels kind of good. Like I'd be helping in some way, I think.
Right.
Yeah. But what about you, Cam?
So in my experience, like doing paranormal investigations just on my own, they kind of go hand in hand sometimes. Like you do paranormal investigations, you go somewhere and you're like, the energy here is just stale. It's sad. Like it's depressing. Like Corey was just talking about, like, it's just like oppressive almost. So like if you do an investigation and you start getting evidence that like maybe something is wrong here and maybe they want to cross over and don't know how or whatever, you can kind of help them along. That's kind of a sticking point for me personally, like doing paranormal investigations. I think a lot of people like try to make spirits cross over before they're ready, and like don't really understand how to get the evidence that that spirit is ready to go on beforehand. Does that make sense? Like they kind of take away.
Yes.
Yeah.
They kind of take away the spirit's like will, I guess.
The want to move on or pass on.
Yeah.
Right. Speeding up the process versus when it's ready.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
You know, I never really thought about that point you made of whether or not a spirit is ready to move on. Is there like signs or signal? Like how would you know whether or not a spirit is ready to stay or move on? Because I mean, I guess that'd be part of it, right?
Right.
Yeah. So when I do investigations, I have I should have brought my little bag in here. I have a spirit box. So like if you get EVPs something is starting to ask for help, or, you know, saying things that might lead you to believe that like they want to move on, but maybe they just don't know how, maybe they're stuck, whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
If you start to get evidence of that, then at that point I would be like, what can I do to help? Like, can I help you find the light, or, you know, whatever the case might be. But if I'm starting to get a feeling that like the spirit just likes chilling in the house that they're in and like just decided to stay and hang out, then I'm not going to be like, nope, pack your bags, get out.
No evictions today.
get out of here anyways.
A ghost eviction.
Here's your eviction notice.
Yeah, exactly. Good luck making that stick. In your experience, has there ever, when you've been doing these investigations, I've heard rumors of this, but obviously you're way more of an authority, but are there ghosts that are unaware that they've passed on? Is that part of why someone would linger? Something along those lines, or is that something unfamiliar?
That's an awesome question. And I feel like that's one of the bigger questions among paranormal investigators of like, are they intelligent? Do they realize that they're here? Do they know what's going on? My personal theory is that there are some earthbound spirits that are here because they had like a traumatic passing and they don't know. And they're just going through the motions of like what life would have been like for them without understanding that, it's time to move on now. But I think in other cases, my personal opinion is that spirits can be intelligent and like actively choose to stay where they are.
Okay.
I want to hear your thoughts on that, Cale. What do you think?
Honestly, I think I'm going to go with Xavier on this one. I do have that inquisitive mind. I do have that want to explore or to, find the unknown or kind of tap into it. Not inviting any specific energy or entities into me, but like you said, look for proof and kind of have these answers to these unanswered questions or these unanswerable questions. Maybe it's more of a curiosity for me. Which I think Xavier expressed. I think that's more of like a curiosity or of a wanting to know aspect.
Mm-hmm.
So my natural curiosity, I think that's been human fascination forever. What happens when we die or what happens to our loved ones or things along those lines. So that's a very curious thing for me, especially my dad having passed away. I would like to know or like these interactions or possibly something like that. So more bridging the veil would be my take on things more so than, that sounds very selfish now. I was about to say more so than helping someone. That sounds terrible.
You take care of your family first. And
apparently, yeah. Damn, I did not like how that sounded. Good portrayal of me. Good job, guys.
Yeah.
But it is your family though.
That's fair.
That's true.
Cam, in your opinion, like when people get into more paranormal investigation or get into contact with medium or clairvoyancy or any of those terms, is it usually through family first, like seeing the death of like a family member as a child, or is it just like how do you think most people get into like this line of professional work?
Like, how do mediums start working in the field?
Yeah, I suppose so. I guess my ultimate question is like, what really like sets off like, oh, I need to investigate this.
Yeah. Like
what
dictates that?
Yeah. What's the inciting incident do you think would be typically like I need to investigate the paranormal or find proof.
Yeah, I think Cale hit the nail on the head that like a lot of us have questions that we want answered about what comes next. You know, what happened to our loved ones that have passed on? What is like the other side like, if there is another side? And I feel like a lot of us are just trying to answer that age-old question. And as you start delving into it, for certain people, you develop like a love for trying to find evidence, because you feel like you're not only answering that question for yourself, but maybe you can bring comfort and peace to somebody else and be like, look, like I got a sign from this spirit. Maybe you can take that and feel comforted about your grandmother who passed on, or anyone that you've lost.
Right.
I think it starts with that and then, you know, develops into a fascination as it goes.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but I think Cam is the first person to ever say that one of the would you rathers goes hand in hand and has a dual answer. I don't think this has ever happened.
Yeah, I don't think so either. You're usually kind of forced to pick one or the other, but it sounds like they're in tandem now.
Right.
I thought that was an intentional thing on your part, Cale. I thought that was like a segue, because it was like worded so perfectly.
Oh. Very nice. I'll take full credit. Yes, that's exactly what I did.
Planned out.
Exactly. Exactly what happened. But yeah, would you say you have more experience with doing your investigations? Have you actively cleansed an area or helped? Is that part of the process? Are the two going hand in hand, right? So is that what you're investigating for? If a spirit or an entity wants to move on, or are you just seeing if there's a presence at all?
Yeah, it starts out with just trying to get a gauge for the energy usually, and like see if there's spiritual energy, see if I can get any evidence. It's very rare in my personal experience that like you actually get enough evidence for me to feel confident that like something is ready to move on. There was one time where I was investigating a shop in Utah with a group of my friends, and they had been doing paranormal investigations there already. So like I had already seen evidence that there was something not very friendly in that shop.
Oh,
okay. Because it was like an antique shop.
Scary.
It could have been attached to anything. And that was the one time where I cleansed and was like, all right, time to go. Like your time's up.
Okay. Right.
Oh, that's cool.
Are you ever worried about spirits like following you, or because like as far as like we know, like contacting or being contacted by any form of spirit, like engaging with said spirit is just like 50-50. Is that like, do you think that's about true? Like, are you worried about curses?
Am I worried about curses? No, I usually am the one doing the curses. But
very nice.
That's why she's on our side.
I do cleanse myself after like every investigation, though, just in case. I don't want to take anything home with me.
Yeah, no chances. Absolutely not.
What goes into that process, if you don't mind me asking?
So I usually use herb bundles. I use juniper or cedar. That's just personal preference. And you just light it and you put it all around your body, get every single I guess part of your aura field would be the best way to put it while you're cleansing. And you have the intention that like you're kind of severing that cord between you and anything that might be trying to latch onto you. And I personally say out loud, like, okay, it was lovely meeting you. Goodbye. You stay here. I'm going home. Something like that.
Right. That's where it is.
Oh, so there's like a close in the relationship.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, that way nothing follows you home or gets attached to you.
Yeah, that's my biggest fear, honestly, is like doing an investigation and accidentally bringing something into my house. Like if it was just me, I wouldn't be worried.
Right.
But if it affected my dog, I would never forgive myself. So
that's understandable.
Because I've seen stuff like where animals get can be they've like been thrown or stuff like that. I don't know if like. Yeah, they can, and they definitely can pick up. I feel like on spirits, they see things differently than I'm sure that we do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny that you say that. Somebody passed away in this house, and I didn't know that when I moved in. And I've noticed that my dog will like kind of watch certain areas of the room sometimes, especially late at night. And I'm like, it's cool if you're seeing something. I don't want to know about it right now. I'm going to bed. Thank you so much.
No thanks. This can wait. This can wait. Thank
exactly.
you. Right. And you said in your experience, it's like rare for you to find enough evidence to pursue something or to make the distinction that something's there. Of the times that you do make the distinction that something is present, how often is it like you said, an oppressive feeling? Is that a very small percentage of the time, or is it what is a neutral feeling, or what is a feeling that's not malevolent, or however you'd like to word it?
Yeah. When I went to investigate Lake Lanier, that was a good example of something that felt very neutral that I thought would be much angrier, but it felt, if anything, just sad. Like it felt very hopeless and stuck. But for the most part, I've noticed that like hauntings that seem to really freak people out when they tell me the story about it, if I actually go to that place, it just kind of feels like someone's hanging out, like somebody that you can't see is just chilling, like having an invisible roommate or something. Like I really don't believe that most spirits are inherently like evil or bad.
Right.
Want to cause harm.
Right. I would feel like somebody's like always watching over my shoulder. Like somebody's like always behind me, like that kind of paranoia I get, that's like just living by myself. Yeah, that's what I think, like what I imagine that feeling would be. Do hauntings occur at places? Is it the home? Is it an object? Is it like how do hauntings like really occur?
That's an awesome question, and one that I don't really feel qualified to answer, to be honest.
Fair enough.
Gotcha.
Fair enough.
I think it can be all the above, personally.
Okay. Well, with that, we'll go to ads.
Hello there, my name is Cale Miller, creator and host of the Weekly Tall Talk. I would like to say thank you for listening to today's episode. If you like what you've been hearing, we would love to know what you think. After the episode, don't forget to leave a comment or reach out to us on our socials, where you can find us at the Weekly Tall Talk. We're excited to say that we're working on a couple other awesome projects for this year. If you would like to know more about that, or to find out what else we've been working on, we have a Patreon and Discord that you can subscribe to, where we can be found at Tall Tale Network. If you have any other questions or ideas of what you'd like us to discuss on the show, please email us at talltaleNetwork@gmail.com. Welcome back from those ads. We made them. You better like them. All right, guys. If you are all ready, we will jump into our next segment.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Are people who are considered evil or have done evil things, are they still evil as spirits? Before Cam answers, Corey, I'm curious what you think of this subject.
Are they evil as spirits? Yeah, I kind of, as a layman with absolutely no knowledge in this, that would be my assumption.
Perfect.
Was that very true? That's why we have Cam here.
Exactly. We have zero collective experience. Perfect.
I would have to assume that a malevolent person would create a malevolent presence after they died. I don't necessarily know if it was a curse, and that's kind of what I was asking. Like, is a thing haunted, or is it a building? Right. And that's like thinking about this question, like, yeah, like I think it's just like Cam said, it's a lot of things, that objects and places can be haunted. And the more evil the person is, the more their aura and presence over life has grown. So like, I would imagine that the more places that they had been in real life would probably be tainted in some way with their presence.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's my working theory on that. What about you, Xavier?
Yeah, I would think the same thing. Like, if people are considered evil or have done bad things, maybe if they're still in that mindset, like when they pass, or if they're not repentant, like they repent or whatever, they like please forgive me for what I've done type stuff. But if they've gone and passed on and they're still that hateful individual, maybe their spirits will still be that hateful or evil type spirit lingering.
Yeah. I get it. I get that. So what about you, Cale?
Oh, for me, I mean, not knowing, but I mean, the energy transfer, what your guys' answers make sense to me. Malevolent actions or sinister things could potentially carry over to lasting after you pass. I could see that being a thing, or basically tainting something, tainting out a house or an object or their prized possession or something like that. That amount of, wrongdoing or whatever instance it is, I think definitely could be transferred to something. If somebody has a bad attitude and you're around them, you feel worse because you're around it. You're either irritated or you're upset or something like that.
True.
I would imagine
that
would linger after a person passes, potentially in either memories or just
emotions,
an energy around them. And now's the point where Cam tells us we're all wrong.
Yeah.
It doesn't work like that.
Please come and correct us.
No, I'm sitting here like, all of your answers gave me chills, because like that's something that I'm probably a little too naive sometimes, and like I try to be like the hopeful optimist and like see the good in people and all that, but like I never even stop to consider how like even if somebody is like they have good in them, right, but they do something so horrific or so heinous that like that energy lingers. It doesn't matter if it's separate from like the good in them. Their energy and like their output could be enough to just completely taint somewhere.
Yeah.
I like how you put that a lot. That's going to keep me awake tonight.
Oh no.
Oh, good. I've done it again.
For coming on the show.
Another
guest scarred by us. Perfect.
Do you think that the spirit remains where the person died, or is it we're saying like there's just places that they had been when they lived that after they pass away become oppressed and downtrodden or anything like that because of that taint of their aura? What do you think, Cam?
I think it can be either. I think that it's probably most common in situations where like a spirit doesn't realize that it's passed on, that it would stay where, the death occurred. But if that spirit, left negative energy, like you were saying, it would make sense that that negative energy would linger where it was cast off or, put into motion. But it could also just be that like a spirit had an attachment to an object. Like I have a few haunted dolls that like, I think that, I think that like people, if they love something enough and they put enough of their self into that object without even meaning to, I think that can become kind of like it can become something that they become attached to after death without meaning to.
Yeah.
Right. Like a vessel.
Right. A vessel. Thank you. That was the word I was looking for.
Right. Could you attach the flip side of this, and then we'll segue into our next segment? But if somebody has a lot of love or attachment for something, could they leave behind good energy? We're focusing a lot on, obviously based on this question, of negative energy, but are there objects or places that feel more serene or more uplifting in like retrospect compared to the oppressed feelings or something along those lines?
I think that if negative energy can be left behind, then the opposite also has to be true. I think that positive energy, warm, loving energy can also be left behind. My personal experience has been when, like, if a spirit comes to visit someone, like if your grandmother passed away and, you're mourning her death and you're just not knowing how to handle it, and she comes to visit you, you're going to feel like there's like this warm embrace like surrounding you, and you're going to feel that positivity. So I think both can be true.
Okay.
Yeah, that's cool.
Do you think that being visited in dreams is similar or akin to actually witnessing a spirit? Because like using the same scenario that you set up, like my grandma comes to me in a dream and I get to have the conversation that I wanted in life, and that helps me. But like, is it the same as seeing that person, their spirit? I
think that is probably the most common way that spirits do visit us, is in our dreams, because it's probably the easiest.
That makes sense.
Oh, that makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Because we're closer to the spirit world, right? When we're asleep.
Yep, exactly. So, it's easier for
okay.
them to just appear to us, not in like a physical form or in a way where they have to move an object or something to get our attention, but rather they can just come visit us and we can interact with them way easier that way.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. I wonder if you have to be attuned to an event like that happening. Because like I've like had periods of time where I've thought about a loved one for an extended period of time after they've passed and not had that happen. But then like 4 or 5 years later, that's when I've been able to have this conversation. So I wonder like why. Why does it take so long?
Why does
like
everything happen?
how can we manifest this,
My grandparents, when both of them passed, neither of them came to me or like visited me in my dreams or anything for the first at least like 2 years. And I was really pissed about it, honestly. Like I was like, how dare you not visit me?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but like I had to come to terms with that and like make peace with the fact that hopefully meant that they were at peace exactly where they were and they didn't need to come back and tell me anything or relay anything. They were good with how it had been left. And I feel like that gives me comfort knowing that they feel like their job is done. It's over. It's okay.
Nice.
Gotcha.
And they're resting and living on that way.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
Do you believe spirits are good or bad? And that's kind of an open-ended question. I think there's a loaded question, but Xavier, you look like you've been thinking about this for years.
Years. I mean, I would assume, I mean, I think we talked about it a little bit about like, I do think there probably would be, or there's bad spirits and good spirits, or evil entities or good entities. I think that there's, it probably depends on like what's happening or what's happened in this, if there's like a house that's haunted or if somebody was murdered or, something horrific happened in a location and that horrific act stays there. Maybe evil spirits feed off of that, or maybe whoever perpetrated that evil act is staying there. And because the act was so heinous that the energy there is staying, like, so they're able to feed off that negative energy. But yeah, that would be my thinking, is that I think there is evil spirits and there's some good ones too.
Oh, a mix of both, like people. Nice.
Yeah. I think you got, there's good people in the world and there's evil people in the world, and people will do what they want to do. And if something evil, they want to do it, they're going to do it. Like, you can't really stop that from happening.
Don't do that. Don't do it. Whoever's listening, do not.
Don't do whatever you're thinking about doing.
Yeah, don't do the bad thing, please.
Yeah,
Right.
do the good thing.
Yeah, do the good thing. Please choose the good thing.
If you were looking for an angel on your shoulder, this podcast is it.
This is the one.
And oddly enough, we're actually both angels.
Oh, damn it. All right, Cam, what do you think about this one?
I think that Xavier hit the nail on the head with that. I think that it can be both. Again, with like that hopeful optimism, I think I try to separate it from the person. Like if negative energy is left behind, like I heard a theory recently that shadow people, like, the big scary ones that you see at night when you have sleep paralysis, like I've heard that like people think that they were never human. And I think that is comforting to me in a way, because it's not like Grandpa Joe down the street passed away and then became this big scary monster that you're seeing in your dreams. It's just something completely different entirely, that like
it's not human.
Exactly. It was never human. So like it doesn't understand that it's scaring you, or maybe it does and it feeds off of that fear. But separating the negative energy from like the human aspect is comforting for me personally. So that's how I look at it.
Gotcha. Okay.
That kind of frightens me, to be honest, knowing that there's other creatures out there that come from things that just didn't exist in our world. And now I get to go to bed with nightmares. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Enjoy.
You're welcome.
Nighty night, Corey.
You got to sleep with one eye open.
Oh man.
Always just tape it open.
It'd be like Lester and sleep with both eyes open.
Oh,
it's a little
man.
scary. So Corey, what's your, I mean, those are two very good opinions. I don't know if you have anything different or see something a little bit skewed from that. What's your thoughts?
No, I think I agree with everything Xavier and Cam said, that I believe that there are good and bad spirits. Everything that we've discussed about malevolence and staying, like having that aura or presence left behind, I absolutely believe that that's out there. But I do believe that there are good spirits, but I wonder how many, like if we were to ratio good versus bad or neutral, like where would the numbers really lie up? Because if you're a good spirit, like, why are you here would be my question. And not like, what the fuck are you doing here? But like, why, like what's keeping you around? Because there is potentially another place for you to go. So what is it about Earth? Like, are you helping out, or are you making sure, like, are you a guardian angel for another person or creature? But I think that exists. I just don't have knowledge knowledge of a good spirit existing. Because I guess, like, you want to report on the bad ones. You want to like, oh, this one was like, this was a freaky event. Like the Winchester house is haunted, and like because of all the guns that killed people, like that's scary. It's notoriety. Whereas like this person, like, I don't know, John Brown, he became like a good spirit after he was murdered. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to say for that. Like you're talking about harnessing onto the bad energy. It's a lot more acceptable to say, oh, I feel oppressed, or I feel this kind of coldness in this place, or this. So like, if you're like, oh, I feel slightly warmer, you're slightly happier, people are like, good for you. Good for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not really like,
it's California, buddy. Of course you feel
that's not
warm.
really a good title for you. Like, I feel slightly better when I'm in this place. I don't know.
Yeah.
But my only differing thought would be possibly between good and bad spirits is maybe that they don't know that from like astral side of it, things like leaving our bodies and becoming a spirit after that. Does our morality stop? Does the way of us thinking things as people stop?
Oh, yeah.
And you're seeing things as like a neutral entity of transcending human emotions of like, oh, this is good or this is bad. I know what I'm doing, or vengeful or this or that. It makes me kind of think of like, are they beyond that? Is there a good or bad? Like, or is it all just one spectrum of neutral, just existence after? I'm just curious. That's the only thing that I would think a little bit differently on, possibly.
Right. Yeah, and I think like going into this, like the spectrum of good or bad, because it's gray, right? The whole spectrum is gray. It can't be black or white. And I think that like when we have mediums who are there assisting people into the other side, maybe that's what I'm talking about. And the answer I'm looking for is those are the good, quote unquote, spirits, is they just didn't know that they need to pass on. They didn't have help going forward. And that's the quote unquote goodness.
Right.
Yeah. I think that's what like Cam was speaking about earlier was sometimes the existence of people who don't know that they've passed on. So you could be a good spirit or a quote unquote, how we see a good spirit, and just not be aware that you've passed or things are different now, or you're supposed to move off this plane or however that ends up.
Yeah. I guess you would be good as like opposed to being malevolent, because it would be a lot easier to notice a malevolent like spirit or manifestation.
Right.
I also think that like some spirits that might be good, just like playing tricks on the living, because like what else are they going to do? It's not like they're watching TV or whatever. So like they might,
makes sense.
they might like playing pranks, and then, people are like, oh my God, how dare it? Like what the fuck?
You're right.
Like this is obviously a really evil
Why
spirit.
me? Right. They're just like hiding your keys or slamming a cupboard.
Exactly.
Fun stuff.
Oh, man.
Well, you kind of touched on this earlier about your dog, but do you think animals see spirits, other planes, things like that? Okay, we'll go with you for this one because clearly had an example already. So let's dive in.
In my last house that I lived in, when I first moved to New Hampshire, I had a cat that was only like 2 years old. And as soon as we moved in, I noticed like a very profound shift in his behavior, and he would be paying attention to things in the room, and I could tell that it was really freaking him out. And within 2 months of us moving there, he died just really suddenly and quickly.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
It sucked, but then like I believe that he could see spirits, and I believe that my dog Rocky can see spirits because I've seen evidence of them seeing something. Like it's not like they're always just looking at a blank wall. Like it's only certain times that they seem to be interacting with something I can't see. But I also believe that some spirits or some animals can become spirits that stay. And I had, when I went to visit my best friend in Houston, she lived in an apartment where she had 3 living cats. And I was in the guest room one day and I hadn't, like, I looked down and I thought her cat was rubbing against my leg because I saw like a little white ball and it felt like a cat. And I walked out there. All 3 cats of hers were in the living room. None of them had been in that room with me. And I mentioned it to her and she was like, I can't believe you saw the ghost cat. That's insane that you saw it, because they had been experiencing that for months.
Wow.
That's amazing. I never thought about it like that. Animals having like staying.
I've had a similar experience.
What?
With I think I mentioned a little bit earlier in our episode today, but the little experience that I had, we had recently, we had cats and one of them had passed away recently. And this was maybe like 5, 6, 7 years ago, maybe more. But what happened was I was sitting on my bed and just nothing, it felt like something had jumped up on the bed. And then on my comforter, it felt like something was stepping, like step, step. And then it stopped. I was on my phone and I was just sitting on my bed and I stopped for a second. I stopped. I was like, wait, what was that? Like I looked at the bed and it sounded and felt like something was walking towards me. And then it just stopped. It was like 3 steps into the comforter. And then that was it.
Wow.
I was like, huh. Like I was very puzzled by that. And I maybe it was my cat. I don't know. It was
amazing, dude.
It felt like something landed on the bed and then stepped 3 times, and then that was
and like you know that feeling too, because like you live when you have your animal, like they're doing those things naturally. So like feeling something like that, it's just like a second nature. Where you go, like you want, like I have a little basset hound and like he rubs up against my leg and it's like, oh, I know it's him. I reach down without looking. And like if he were to not be there, that disconnection would be pretty freaky.
Yeah. You're like, wait a minute.
Franklin?
Yeah, that is a little weird. It never happened again.
Just that one time.
Just that one time. So yeah, super odd.
Well, you know what's not off?
Huh.
These ads.
Hey there, this is Corey from the Weekly Tall Talk podcast. If you like what you've been hearing, please consider going to patreon.com/TallTaleNetwork and becoming one of our patrons. We'd really appreciate it, and you'd help us get out some content later this year. Thanks.
Welcome back, everyone. That's it. Welcome back.
Welcome back.
We're getting right into it.
Welcome back from the other side.
Exactly.
Sorry, I couldn't help it.
Oh, spooky. No. I was going to mess it up anyway. I already started to mess it up.
We'll end it around. It's
Thank
fine.
you for interrupting me. You knew that I was going to mess that up.
I knew it was happening.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Would paranormal investigation take a toll on you, or would you find it rewarding and comforting in knowing that you are assisting the recently deceased to be put to rest? Cam, you've been actively participating in investigations and doing some of these cleansings. So I'm curious to see your question on this. Does it take a toll on you? Do you ever feel? Well, I'll just leave it up to you. However you want to answer that.
I think I've gotten used to it a little bit, but it does take a toll on you when you go somewhere that has profound energy that's negative. Like if I go somewhere that I can feel that like there's a lot of sadness stuck there, it does kind of weigh on your heart a little bit.
I can imagine.
My first paranormal experience that I had in my early 20s, like my first paranormal investigation ever, I investigated the Devil's Tree in Florida. And I was like, I was sitting in a circle with a group of friends, and I started to like have this weird experience that like I could tell it wasn't me having the experience. And I don't want to go into too much detail because it's really like heavy stuff for this.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right.
But like after that night, I had nightmares every single night for like 3 months. Like it stuck with me hard.
Oh, wow.
And like I know to cleanse myself and like, do all the rituals that we were talking about before so that I can avoid some of that. But if you go somewhere where there's just like that darkness and that sadness and like a really almost kind of like sticky feeling that stays with you, it can be hard to shake for sure.
I would imagine. Yeah. 3 months of nightmares sounds horrific. So sorry.
It sucked. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, could imagine.
Could I'm not aware of what the Devil's Tree is. Would you be able to give a little description about it?
I would love to. So in Florida, there was a serial killer who was also a cop named Gerard Schaefer. And he would usually kidnap hitchhikers who were like teenagers to like early 20s. And he would sexually assault them and then he would kill them. And in the case of the Devil's Tree, he did this like all over South Florida and like Ocala National Forest, on Hutchinson Island. But at the tree in Port St. Lucie, it was rumored that he would hang their bodies from the tree. And in the case of 2 of the girls, they were buried underneath it or near it. So like,
oh man,
I've investigated there after like the first time that I was talking about. And that place just has such a heavy, sad energy that like, I love that tree because it was so monumental and like forming my love for the paranormal, but it's also very hard to go to that area.
Oh, sure.
I would imagine.
Totally understand that. That's some
very
gruesome stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's literally the site of heavy atrocities. You know?
Yeah,
That's that would be weighing on anyone, just even without a connection to the spirit world or anything like that.
And yeah, that feels like such heinous acts were done, and he would bury or hang his victims there. That's leaving like such a horrific stain on that tree. Such people losing their lives in such a horrific, brutal way. Such evil acts happening at that moment. I can imagine just leaving such a bad or a negative aura around that tree.
It's wild that you say that the way that you did, that it left a stain, because that tree actually has a huge scar down the side. It's a gigantic tree. Like it's massive.
Oh, okay.
But there's a huge scar on it from where they tried cutting it down. And like the legend is that the chainsaw broke, the axe broke, like it cannot be brought down. And it almost feels like the energy of those women are like, absolutely not. This tree is going to stand here and represent what we went through, because no memorial was ever made for them. So it's wild that you put it that way.
Wow, that's very interesting. Yeah, no memorial. So there's okay. So the tree is acting like their memorial now.
Right.
This is the remembrance of, remember us and what happened to us.
Exactly.
Do you think if a memorial were to be built at a separate location, that there would be a way to cleanse the tree or save it from the aura that it is?
That's a good question. I would like to say yes, but I really don't think so. After so much darkness took place there, it almost feels like one of those locations that is just so far gone. And I hate to say that, but like it goes along with, there's a Devil's Tree in New Jersey, and it's a different story attached to that one. But they're
Okay.
called witness trees. Like they stand witness to these terrible things that happened.
Oh.
And once they, become that, I
Dang.
don't know if there's ever going back.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that
Wow.
makes sense.
Makes sense to me.
Because some things can just be so marred by like we said, there's literal atrocities that like it just doesn't recover.
Right.
How can you take it back?
Wow. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I could see like you saying the amount of energy you're feeling when you just described these terrible things that happened. All three of us are like, you get that
Yeah.
secondhand feeling for just that. So actively being somewhere where that happened and being in tune enough to take in those emotions. I can't imagine. No.
And this is something you've talked about on your social media, right? At Swamp Witch.
It is. Yep. The Devil's Tree video that I made was one of the first videos that I had go viral. And it meant a lot to me that people knew the story, because it was really just like a local horror story more than anything. Like people treated it like an urban legend. And I don't think they even realized that it was like a real thing that happened. Like they were just like,
Yeah.
they would go there on Halloween to like scare their friends or whatever. And they didn't realize that like so many women and girls had lost their lives because of this monster who was doing things to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was really important
Wow.
to me to tell their stories.
That's good.
Well, thank you for resharing the story again on our show. We appreciate
Thank you
it.
for letting me.
Yeah, I can't be sure, but I think that's one of the first videos where I was like, follow.
Oh, well, I'm glad you did.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Corey, do you have anything to add to that?
The answer or what you said?
Yeah, like would it take a toll on you, like personally? I would imagine
yeah.
after hearing her testimony.
Yeah,
I think we have our answer.
not only just like taking her witness testimony as like 100% truth, but like
Right,
I would
exactly.
absolutely believe that you'd be taxed, like mentally, psychically, after all of this. And like you said, like if you go into a location like this and not even make contact, but like if you don't cleanse yourself after you've gone to do these investigations and stuff, I would really be worried about my mental health or the people around me. Like who knows what kind of sphere of influence I would start if I made connection with something that I just didn't know about and then brought it into my life and didn't close that chapter. Like Cam brought up, where you say, thank you, I'm done. We're done here. Please don't follow me.
Yeah, go away.
You'll stay put.
That would be. I mean, kudos to you, Cam, because I don't know if I'd have like the psychic tolerance to be able to go to a lot of these places. Like I mentioned before, I went to one place here in California called Scary Dairy, and it was. Have you heard of it, Cam?
I have heard of that. Yep.
There it is.
Okay, well, rad.
Scary
There's a call. Yeah, Scary Dairy. There's a college on it now. It's called Seasucky, Channel Islands School of something. And it used to be an asylum for insane people. And they had a dairy that was part of this large facility in Channel Islands that they would take the mentally incapacitated and they would force them to work in this dairy. Providing their own milk and stuff. And they like exploited them. And like, it was really, really horrific behavior. And quote unquote, mysteriously, the Scary Dairy ended up burning down and a bunch of people like died in the warehouse fire and the remnants are still there.
Oh, wow.
So like when you go to this location, it's just like, it's, if you've ever seen ruins from something, that's what it looks like. Like it's just the framework and some like hallways here and there that are standing in the middle of the field. And it's all just covered in like graffiti and filth. And nobody's gone back to the location to redo anything about it because of like how horrific it is. And in fact, the school itself is built in the same facilities where they had a lot of like the room and the housing and stuff for the faculty. And that is now converted into classrooms. But like last time I went there 12, 13 years ago or so, at least a third of the school had buildings that were there, but there was nothing in it. They weren't classrooms. They were just abandoned buildings. So like the windows were broken. There was no furniture. Like it was a mess.
Creepy.
And I went there like, again, like coming out of this experience being so heavily taxed. It was just, it's a really weird feeling to be around. It's just like unnaturally cold.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So we can go sometime. It's not too far from us, like 40 minutes.
Dude, that'd be cool.
We'll be mentally taxed again.
Yeah, exactly. You'll come back upset.
Come back upset.
I don't know.
That's just my life.
Oh, that explains a lot.
Cale, Xavier, what do you guys think?
100%. Yeah. I agree with the taxi part.
Real original.
Yeah. I'm so original. Yeah. I mean, I couldn't imagine myself doing something like that. So, and I don't think I would be able to withstand all that emotion. I have enough trouble handling my own.
Yep. See, there we go.
Yeah, I think that would be rewarding at the same time, helping helping spirits move on. Because then, you're giving them comfort and help. So they're not stuck. But yeah, that would be hard on the psyche, hard on the emotion, the heart.
Yeah.
Moving right along.
Perfect transition.
Flawless. I'm just so flawless. All right. Another question for you. If we had concrete proof of the afterlife existing, would there still be people denouncing it? And that comes, it's kind of a loaded question, because if we say concrete proof, what does that mean? Media, some kind of photo, some video, things like this. It's kind of hard to articulate what would be concrete proof, because otherwise it would be here. But is there always going to be like denouncing to it? Is there always going to be somebody that thinks it's fake, especially in today's age of Photoshop or altering videos or anything like that would be like easily shareable? I'll put it that way. Is there ever going to be a time that's like universally accepted? Do you ever think there'll be that? Or even with what you say is quote unquote concrete proof, are there still going to be people denouncing it?
I think that it's human nature to try to argue with things. I'm trying to put that as delicately as I can. I feel like there's always going to be naysayers. There's always going to be people who don't buy into things, especially like you said, with like Photoshop and AI and all of that stuff becoming so prevalent. I feel like people almost
skeptics.
Yeah, I feel like they would fight it tooth and nail, even if they really wanted to believe in it. Like there might just be a part of them that doesn't let them. So I feel like there will always be naysayers, but I hope that a day comes where there is like a nice piece of evidence or two that people can be presented with, and at least plant that seed in their mind that maybe the possibility is there of life after death.
Yeah.
Right. I think there's so many of us that are hopeful for that.
Yeah. It'd be nice.
Yeah, I think if there was concrete, just to add on to Cam's response, that I think even if there was concrete, there's always going to be people that maybe will view this as fake, like this is something that's made up,
or not. Somehow it's doctored.
Yeah, it's manufactured. This is the work of someone's AI simulation or whatever. But that's interesting that you can. I like how you put that. There's some people that there's an inkling in them that wants to believe, but doesn't want to accept it, or is afraid to accept, or worried or scared of the unknown, and doesn't want to know about it. I think there are people might be out there like that want to believe, but or don't know that they need proof or something like that.
Yeah. Right. Well, I'd want to put out there that we do have proof that there, well, maybe not an afterlife, but there's something. There's some contact with the spirits, because like I believe everything that we're talking about. Like I believe like there's a spirit and there's something that happens like to keep us here or something like that. But like we also know from like I was listening to a thing on near-death experiences, and people who have near-death experiences kind of come back and tell a very similar tale. And there's this huge study done about people who had near-death experiences, and a large majority of them came back and said, there's something. I died and I saw something, and now I'm back here. And yeah. So like I think that's evidence enough. It's just it's kind of hard because we can't write it down. We can't quantify things like that, but we do have we have people coming back and giving their testimony to that.
Exactly. And I think just tagging on to everything, there's always going to be a adverse reaction to things. To the four of us, proof of the afterlife, or like Corey said, these testimonies from people, we can find that very comforting. Other people would find that very frightening.
Oh, sure. Well, nobody
So
likes
there's-
thinking about death, the
Right.
dying, and ghosts and
Right. So
stuff.
there's like this seesaw kind of emotions, but what's comforting to you might be upsetting to me, and vice versa. And yeah, I think even with the proof, it's a very personal choice to believe in something. It's not even a faith-based thing. It's like, is there something or is there not? You can be presented with whatever you want or hear these stories, but you're going to make up your own mind.
Yeah.
One way or another.
I'm almost happy that there isn't like concrete proof right now
Mhm.
because I mean, Cale, you have a platform on TikTok as well. So like, I'm sure you've seen this, but like there's people who claim to be mediums and you can just watch their lives sometimes
Right.
and know that they're capitalizing off the grief of people. And I feel like
Yeah.
that would just amplify 20-fold if there was concrete proof. They would be
Right.
like, see, this is real, so I must be real too. Let me,
Right.
for the low
Yeah, there would be a lot of
cost of
people.
$1,000, let me connect you with your dead grandmother. Like,
yeah.
Right. No, yeah.
Oh,
Any way to flip it and kind of make money on it. Yeah. There would be a lot of grifters in that
Yeah.
space. I like
how
you
can
put
we
that.
monetize your death?
Right,
yeah.
Oh,
exactly.
there'll be a way.
Yeah. They always try to find one. Yeah. No, I get that though. It's up to your wonderment or your mindset of what you believe. But like you said, the flip side of that is how many people would try to take advantage. Maybe it's better to leave it unknown, and for whoever accepts it. And then hopefully we're all happy after.
That was
I
a
don't know.
beautiful way to put it.
Well, guys, this is the end of the show, but it's not the end of my questions. Uh-oh. Xavier, enough.
Ceaseless, unrelenting.
I can't get enough of the questions. They drive me mad in the night. This one's just for you, Cam. You've kind of already answered this a little bit, so we'll just reiterate. Would you stay in a haunted location? That could be of anything that you choose of, but I mean, you've been to haunted locations as you spoke to basically this whole episode. But is there any place that you maybe wouldn't go? Is there something that you would think would draw too much energy or tax you too much? Is there something that you kind of are wary of in your experience or something along those lines?
I have not come across somewhere yet that I wouldn't investigate, but I think that the possibility is always there that somewhere is just, too tainted, too dark, whatever the case might be. Like I don't know if I can say the word, but the forest in Japan where people take their own lives. That's one place I would never go. I feel like that would be really dark.
That would be
hard.
heavy, I would imagine. Yeah. That. Mm-mm.
But like haunted locations in general, I mentioned earlier, like my house is haunted. So like that's comforting for me. And I know that's not a normal thing for like living people.
Response, right.
But, like, for me personally, like I enjoy trying to like get evidence and just having that kind of weird energy around me. So it is comforting for me in a way. But I would like to say, if I ever go out to where you guys are located, I would love to do a paranormal investigation with all three of you. And I want to see if
that would be the
I'm so
dream.
down.
That would be amazing. Yeah,
That
we've
would
been
be
talking
so
about it
much
for
fun.
years. So absolutely let us know and we're there.
cool. I would love that.
Yeah. That would be a lot of fun.
Absolutely.
I've never done something like that and always wanted to.
Right.
And that would be amazing. We should try that.
I would feel a little safer if you were there.
Yeah.
I'm going to be honest. I might be in the van just watching from a TV monitor.
You're the audio
You gotta
guy.
go all for one.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I got to make sure the cameras and the microphones work. Yeah, I got to be over here, guys. Sorry.
Don't worry about what I'm doing.
Oh no, that's awesome. We should definitely do that.
Yeah, I would love that. That sounds fun.
Yeah, that would be an amazing trip.
I realized just now that I didn't give this disclaimer at the beginning when we started with the questions, but I just want to make sure everybody listening knows that everything that I'm saying is just my own personal opinion. There are no experts in the paranormal or the spiritual world or whatever you want to call it. Nobody is an expert. And that's kind of what makes it so beautiful and cool, is that we're all just learning and trying to discover things as we go. But I just want to make sure everybody understands that.
Yeah, it says on our Patreon that we are actually theoretical experts. So
I love that.
So we're a blanket term.
Yeah.
We're good.
Yeah,
You're the
we're
closest.
experts in theory, but don't take anything we say seriously because most of it's lies, except for what Cam said. Those aren't.
Yeah.
She's the only bit of truth from this episode.
No.
And we'd like to say right now, Cam, thank you so much for being
Yeah.
on our show.
Yes.
We very fantastic guest. We really love
Yeah.
hearing your knowledge on all of this. Thank you.
Yeah, it's just a really good aura. Just a really positive, just easygoing. Yeah, very nice.
This was a wonderful conversation. Thank you guys for having me on.
Awesome.
We'll
Our
have
pleasure.
to think of more questions to talk about and have you back on for another episode or do
100%.
something totally different. We'll
Yeah,
figure
we'll
it
check
out.
back
But yeah,
in
you were
with
a
your
great
your
gift.
personal haunting and see how well that's going.
I would love that. I would love to be back on whenever you guys are ready for me.
Cool.
Sounds
Oh, yeah,
fantastic.
sweet.
We'll make it happen.
Sweet.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you very much, Cam, for joining us today. And before we do all of our sign-offs, I'm going to shoot it off to ours and we'll end with you. So, Corey, where can the people hunt you down and persecute you for your beliefs today?
Well, if you want to haunt my messages, you can find me on Instagram at Corey.Andre, COREY, It's the only way to contact me, so don't try and find me elsewhere. I will cry. We also have an Instagram for the channel called The Weekly Tall Talk. Go check it out there. We post skits, we post updates for our shows, and little bits from our shows that we like doing. I don't know. I flubbed that one up. Xavier,
No, we're
save me
good.
from this.
Huh? And also we have a Patreon. If you want to see some of the behind the scenes content and our bloopers, we've got plenty of those. Feel free to join us over there at patreon.com/Tall Tale Network. Also, too, if you guys out there listening had any answers to some of today's questions, send us an email at our email account, talltalenetwork@gmail.com. We'd love to hear what you guys think about today's episode. Cale.
Well, now that Xavier remembered me, you can find me on Instagram at talltailcale with an underscore in between each word and a C instead of a K for Cale. I also have a TikTok at bearded_giant. We have a communal TikTok where we post clips from the show and little teasers for each episode. So go check that out at The Weekly Tall Talk. We also have our YouTube channel. Thank you for the recent support on that. We like putting out the videos on there for you. We're looking back into getting the live recordings going and doing some live shows in addition to some other projects that we have working on that we're just trying to get the green light for. So YouTube, hurry up. And yeah, be sure to follow the channel for updates. And without any further ado, the guest of honor, Cam, where can people find you if you want to be found? I don't know.
People can find me on TikTok. My name is swamp_witch_. They can also find me on Instagram at swampwitchcam, all one word. And between the two of those, you should be able to find the link to my YouTube and my other platforms as well. And I also accept emails of people's personal stories with the paranormal at swampwitchcam@gmail.com. And we'll tall tale you later.
Awesome.
Perfect.
That was professional as fuck.